Help support AMTV by becoming a patron, an AMTV staff member, and following us over on Twitter. Hi there guys, it's Adam Martyn here, and welcome back to another video. And first off the bat, I am ill. I have a cold, I have something which is making it more difficult to speak, more difficult to breathe through my nose. It's not fun, so apologies if I sound a bit different. But today we're going to be talking about TV show cancellations. It's something that hasn't been new in 2023, particularly on the big channels, and that's what we're going to delve into today. But before we do, as always, please leave a like on this video, subscribe to us here if you're brand new. Thank you so much for making us hit 35,000 subscribers. That is insane, and as always, on to the next milestone. So in the last week, we've had two big shows, I'd argue, or two well-known shows that have recently faced the axe. Apparently seemingly for different reasons, but I wanted to break that down entirely. So the first one, the more prolific one, is the BBC's Doctors TV series cancelled after 23 years. Now, this came as a shock to many people. As it says, Doctors has been running for a long time, since the year 2000. It's a daytime soap or daytime drama. It's always sort of gone out in that, midday slot, and it has developed a big cult following, as a lot of daytime soaps do. I think people forget a lot of people do consume daytime television for various reasons, whether that's you work from home or maybe you're retired, and a whole host of other reasons. Daytime TV has its own loyal audience, and Doctors was arguably, certainly in the terrestrial channel sense, that was like the epitome of the midday drama. So why has it been axed? Well, let's find out. The article states as follows: production of daytime medical drama Doctors is to end, the BBC has announced. After running for 23 years, the TV show had been affected by superinflation in drama production, causing costs to rise significantly, and that's what the Beeb says. It said it had faced a choice on whether to reinvest in the Birmingham site where the show is made, or finance new shows in the West Midlands. The final episode will be aired in December of 2024. Now, just to pause there, superinflation in drama production, if you watch any of the videos I've made this year talking about TV shows being cancelled, that has been a factor that has cropped up a lot. The fact that the cost to make TV now has ballooned, certainly in the last 12 months, and is very high. A lot of companies, not just the BBC, not just the main broadcasters, a lot of companies are either axing shows or they're cutting back on television production for this reason, that it is just far too expensive now for them to even make. But, Doctors, again, it's been running for 23 years. It's this established brand. Why is that the one that faces the axe? We'll get into that in just a little moment. The article continues by saying, the BBC said it would be working closely with BBC Studios to give it the finale it deserves. It also thanked all the cast and crew who had worked on the show, which was first broadcast on the 26th of March 2000, and has since won 17 BAFTAs. This is what I mean. This isn't just a throwaway show. A lot of people hold this show very close to their heart, and it is often been a bed of award-winning television, as just read out there. More than 4,500 episodes of the show have been made. That is certainly a lot of episodes. Now, one key reason why people are upset, just taking out of the loyal fan base for a second, it's the whole thing that Doctors was viewed as a program. It was a good entry level for anyone wanting to get into television, whether that you were an actor, whether you were working behind the scenes, whether you were a camera, writer, director, anything like that. Doctors was viewed as one of those big shows where people could get their start in the industry, and it touches on that just here. So TV critic Scott Bryan from the BBC's Must Watch podcast said on X, formerly Twitter, that the show had been a training ground for many actors, which is true. It had featured household names such as Eddie Redmayne, Sheridan Smith, Nicholas Hoult, Rusty Lee, and Phoebe Waller-Bridge, he said. For many of us, this is the show we would watch on our sick days. Quite ironic, being that it's called Doctors, and yeah, I know a lot of people who would do that as well. If they were off, they turn on the telly. Doctors was the program they turned to, and I mean, look at those names. Eddie Redmayne, who has gone on to win, Academy Awards. Sheridan Smith, who seems like she's in everything now. She's so popular. Nicholas Hoult, Rusty Lee. Phoebe Waller-Bridge, the writer-creator of Fleabag, has gone on to work on James Bond films, Indiana Jones. Like, these are names that have gone on to do massive things, and they got their start or some of their earliest roles on this humble little daytime soap that aired on BBC One every day. The Writers Guild called the decision a terrible loss to the UK writing community and to audiences. It said it was essential that the UK continues to provide distinctive content and opportunities for our writers, and I couldn't agree more, because this is what I mean. Writing television isn't easy. I think anyone who has done will tell you that, and it seems as time has gone on, the open doors for writing televisions, some people argue, are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So Doctors, you know, a continuing soap, an established soap, as many of them are a good breeding ground for new writers to just sort of, not necessarily just write for soap opera, or drama, just to write for television in general. Several writers have claimed that. The cancellation of the show 18 months after another BBC medical drama, Holby City, was axed, leaves a big hole in the drama slate, it added, and people who have worked on the show have expressed their sadness on social media. Writer and director Joy Wilkinson, she wrote, "I'd have left TV drama if it wasn't for this wonderful, warm and creative show." She said the 36 episodes she worked on were the making of me, as it formed many on both sides of the camera. "Go out with a bang," she added, and she wrote that on X as well. And I've seen numerous writers, performers come out on Twitter to voice their sadness that Doctors is ending. And I must admit, right off the bat, because I'll always be transparent with you about this, Doctors hasn't been a program I've necessarily watched. I've caught the odd episode here and there, channel surfing again on sick days and stuff, but I've never watched it fully. However, I know tons and tons of people who have been involved with this show. Again, this entry-level thing. Actors who, when I was like 18, 19, when we'd left school, some people were getting small parts in Doctors, being that springboard. And as I've gone on, people have gone on to write for Doctors. People I know have gone on to star in it, to be behind the camera. It seems like it has been such a useful, essential creative outlet for people, especially those from, say, not necessarily upper-class backgrounds, those from the working class, those with disabilities, all that sort of stuff. It just gives them a route, that foothold that they can be in this industry, as they should be in this industry along with everybody else. The BBC said the Drama Village, where the show is currently made, would have needed further investment to continue operating, with the only alternative being to switch production to another site. It had been a difficult decision, but with a flat license fee, the BBC's funding challenges mean we have to make tough choices in order to deliver greater value to audiences, and that's from the corporation. Of course, we've talked about the license fee before. You can debate endlessly on that, whether it's a good thing, whether it's a bad thing, whether it needs to be adapted, whether it needs to be scrapped. That's a whole other topic. But the fact is, with the license fee for the BBC having been frozen at a set level, that limits the income that they make to then invest back into new programs. Yes, they have other enterprises like BBC Studios is like the commercial operation and stuff like that, but these budgets are all segmented. It's harder to necessarily move money from one to the other and resources, and we're seeing it more not just with the B but with other companies, that shows are being shut down in order to divert resources, essentially divert money into other things. So perhaps the corporation is implying there, that had the license fee not been frozen, had more money been put into it, or had it been able to raise the license fee, then perhaps Doctors would have survived or something like that, or this investment for the studios. Although it does say it remains fully committed to TV production in the West Midlands. It highlighted recent announcements that Silent Witness will move to the region in 2024. That's another long-running drama series. I wonder if that might get the axe next. And that MasterChef will be made at the new studios in Digbeth, Birmingham, which are due to open next year. The BBC adds over £305 million to the economic value of the West Midlands each year. That's quite a staggering figure, describing Birmingham as a major hub for the BBC's activity. It said all the funding for Doctors would be reinvested into new programming in the region, and it would work to develop new opportunities to support skills in scripted programming. The Mayor of the West Midlands, Andy Street, said it was sad news that the show was coming to an end, not least because it had been the first step into TV for many people, which I've just touched on is absolutely true. However, in a post on X, he added, "Let's be clear, the investment in Doctors will stay in the West Midlands and be spent on new productions." So I guess that's the one silver lining, that the money that will be saved by not making Doctors is going to stay in that West Midlands region. It's going to fund new programs. And one argument, I think is that, we should always be looking to make new programs. Obviously, ones that have been established, that have run for a very long time, are great to have, and it's always great when they have that longevity. But I do think we shouldn't sacrifice new content just to maintain the old. What I'm saying is, if the choice, money-wise, was literally, we either keep every established program we have, or we have to cut one or two and invest in new content, I'd argue investing in new content is the way. Obviously, I'm gutted that Doctors has been axed, not the least for the many fans who enjoy it, but again, for that experience it provided. And it makes me worry that when Doctors disappears, where's that entry-level point going to be? What program is going to take up that mantle? Is it going to be one of the others? I mean, Casualty is one of the few surviving bastions that still employs that, a good entry-level position. That's been going for nearly 40 years now. We're approaching that. We're a few years off. It does mention Holby City in the article. Of course, that got axed last year after 23 years. So a lot of cuts are having to be made from this license fee freeze, from this hyperinflation. It's way more expensive to make telly. And it's just a shame that Doctors, this great, well, not only a great entry level, but a show that clearly many people have an affinity for, is disappearing. Some might say that it's had its time. 23 years is a staggering long time for any television program, but know it's going to be missed by a number of the show's fans. Will it be picked up and resurrected on another platform? People point to Neighbours. You know, when Channel 5 stopped that, it was picked up by Amazon to air on their Freevee thing. Is that going to happen to Doctors? I'd argue no, just because I don't know. I just don't see any of the other broadcasters picking that up. They might do. Wouldn't it be great if it was like a Neighbour situation where they recognise the audience is there and that they'll pick it up? But somehow I just don't see that happening. So Doctors was like the big one. That was the big shock program that got, or that is getting axed, that surprised a lot of people. A more recent one that came through literally about a day ago as I'm recording this is that Steph McGovern's Packed Lunch, or Steph's Packed Lunch, is cancelled by Channel 4, essentially. So this is the daytime show that is hosted by Steph McGovern. This launched a few years ago. It was sort of aiming to be like the crown jewel in Channel 4's daytime schedule, but now it seems it's going to be no more. Let's have a little read. It says, Steph's Packed Lunch is to end at the end of the year, the broadcaster has announced. The live daily show launched from host Steph McGovern's living room during the first COVID lockdown in 2020. It then moved to a studio in Leeds and was the channel's main offering from the city when it opened a new base there with about 250 staff. Channel 4 said it had to make difficult decisions because audience habits were changing quicker than ever. So this seemingly is from this offset, this seems like it's a different reason. The BBC specifically made it financial. You know, they claimed it was due to hyperinflation. Channel 4 are leading with this whole idea of audience habits changing. We'll get into that in just a sec, but interesting how the reasoning seems to be a little different. In a statement, the channel said it was incredibly proud of the magazine programme and so grateful to McGovern and the production team for creating a show that kick-started our growth in the north of England. It continued, Steph has not only made the nation's lunchtimes more entertaining and brilliantly reflected the views and preoccupations of the country, but the show has also been an outstanding springboard for developing local talent behind the scenes. However, with audience habits changing quicker than ever, we have to make difficult decisions about which programs to invest in to best drive our digital-first strategy, and we have decided not to recommission Steph's Packed Lunch when its existing production contract ends in December of 2023. So they have tied in a bit of finances there, saying about which programs to invest in, and again, Channel 4 makes its money from commercial operations, so it's going to use that money to decide which programs to make. They are right about, Packed Lunch helping move, the Channel 4's move outside of London, as a lot of the broadcasters are doing, setting up that base in Leeds, trying to recruit local people, which I think, again, is so crucially important. I'm more gutted on this one about the fact that the team working on Steph's Packed Lunch now, unless they're going to be moved to another project, they're going to be out of a job. What was meant to be this crown jewel in the daytime schedule, kickstarting the growth in the north of England for all local people who, again, many of whom are getting into the industry for the first time, that's another door now that's going to be closed unless they are, just simply moved on to another project within Channel 4. So again, this was a bit surprising because I always thought this show was well liked or did well for Channel 4. Let's read a little bit more. It said the show runs from 12 till 10 past 2 every day and attracts about 140,000 viewers, putting it behind other main channels at that time. Well, again, that's a pretty wide timescape to hold people these days. A 2-hour a daytime program in the nature that this one is. It's competing with the other broadcasters, streaming services. A lot of people that time, they're out at work or they're doing stuff. That's not to say people aren't watching telly. Again, daytime TV has a big audience, but I always thought the figures were higher than that. I'm a little surprised. It says Channel 4 said it remained as committed as ever to our mission to help level up the TV industry outside London and to its target spending of 50% of the programme budget outside of London. Let's hope it continues that. It said it would reinvest the money currently used for Steph's Packed Lunch on other shows made outside the capital, but did not give details. It also has offices in Bristol and Glasgow. We have almost 500 roles outside of London, and this will continue to increase over the next few years. Again, this whole thing of moving TV outside of London, I think, is ultimately a good idea. It just widens the scope of accessibility for people who want to work in this industry who aren't from London or the surrounding boroughs of London, etc. Steph's Packed Lunch is the second daily show made outside London to be cancelled in 2 days. This is obviously linking to Doctors. A spokesperson for the production companies that make it, which are Expectation and Can, said they had enjoyed 3 fantastic years working with the brilliant Steph McGovern and the outstanding on-screen family of talent. But they added, we're very disappointed that despite building a loyal audience, we don't get to continue brightening up 12 till 2 on Channel 4. Leeds didn't have a live television community 4 years ago, and it's been a privilege to build a team which boasts some of the brightest, sharpest TV producers in the country. So I've seen a lot of criticism has been thrown that the two major programmes of the last week to be axed by broadcasters are productions that aren't based in London. As it says, Doctors was based in the West Midlands, Steph's Pat Lunch is based in Leeds. I'd like to think there's not, regionalisation going on in terms of what's being shown. What I'm saying is I hope that the decision on what gets axed isn't done by region first. The London shows, they must be saved. I'd like to think that's not the case at all. And again, the BBC's went with that purely financial angle. They've got the license fee freeze. These guys, or the Channel 4 statement, is more focusing on changing audiences' interest. Now, 140,000 viewers across that 2-hour time span, it could be worse, but it certainly isn't the most impressive. So maybe Channel 4 have looked at the numbers and thought, this isn't sustainable, or the advertisers aren't going to pay maybe as much as they once did, or they will for other programs. And again, maybe they're just thinking about looking forward. This program's had a few years now. It has got its own loyal following, but they maybe think we could use that money to make new programs that could be bigger, better, whatever it is. They haven't said what they're going to do. You'd like to think they're investing that money. I mean, they said as much, like outside of London, more staff outside of London, etc. They haven't been clear what productions yet. Maybe will it be another daytime show? Will it be a daytime drama in the vein of Doctors, or will it be something else? We'll have to wait and see. Ultimately, this whole thing of Doctors and Steph's Pat Lunch being cancelled, I think we're seeing a massive a shift, a changing point in the way that daytime telly operates, because another thing that has happened recently that I've seen a lot of people talk about, this was a week or so ago, is that Holly Willoughby has left This Morning, which is obviously ITV's staple morning talk show. Now, obviously, you had the whole thing with Philip Schofield a few months back that caused him to step back, and now Holly has stepped back as well for entirely different reasons. So a lot of people are saying, is daytime TV completely falling? Not just from that, but you've got two big presenters who have hosted something for years, they're gone. You've got Doctors that has ran for 23 years, that's gone. Steph's Pat Lunch, which was meant to be Channel 4's take at the whole daytime show thing, that's now gone. So if changing viewer habits are really a thing, what is that changing to? Is that changing to, is that merely the people on screen they're changing their habits to? Is it the format? Is it the genre of show? It's all these questions the broadcasters are trying to ascertain. What do the audience want? If they're not wanting what we're giving them, what do they want instead? So it's a shame to see both of these go. I know Doctors, again, in particular, has that fan base. A lot of people are going to be mourning its loss. It is going to continue until December 2024, so we have got another year and a bit of the programme left. Hopefully more people, again, if they're still filming episodes, will be able to get that entry level. They'll be able to get their foot in the door before the show closes down for good. We can only hope so, but, this is yet another high-profile show being axed. It was Holby City last year for the BBC. Now it's Doctors, and it makes me think what's going to be next. Again, Silent Witness, that's been running a very long time. Could that be next, or maybe some other programs in danger? It's always that risk in television. You've always got to look forward. You've always got to develop new content, new programs, things people are going to watch. But by the same token, if a brand's successful, you obviously want to keep that going. But at how much cost are you willing to keep that going? The BBC clearly found their limit with Doctors, whether that was, as I said, due to the license fee freeze, inflation of making programs. It's crossed its line, and it makes me wonder, when will that line be crossed again in relating to maybe another one of its flagship programs? But that's all for this video. Thank you very much for watching. As always, if you enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Are you gutted that these particular programs are being taken off the air, or do you think it's about time? Let me know your thoughts down below. In the meantime, I've been Adam Martyn from AMTV. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Thank you to our patrons for helping to support the show, and a special thank you to Macra, Ben Freeman, Ethan Carberry-Holt, Bruce Danton, Globe of Reviews, Derek Chambers, Sean Knock, Dord Khan, Liam Domain, Carl KR, AJ Mac 200017, and Daniel Middleton, our AMTV staff members.